Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of our Android calculator tutorial. So I'm not sure how well I explained what we did last episode, so this episode is going to be sort of a recap. So the last episode, we created a function called setName in our diner class so that every object that we use or that we create will now have a function called setName, and that setName function, what it does is it sets the text for TV name equal to whatever the text is currently in ET name. And TV name is the text view for the name of a diner, and ET name is the edit text of the name of a diner. So now all diners have that function. And then as for our main activity code, we implemented onFocusChangeListener, which listens to objects when they lose or get focus. And we made sure that we're listening to first customer right here by setting onFocusChangeListener to this, which is main activity again. We also use the same method on every subsequent name edit text that we create by hitting the Add Diner button. Now that we're listening to all of these edit text with names, we should edit the onFocusChange method. And our onFocusChange method, I think the best way to explain exactly what it does is to run through an example. So let's see. Let's assume there are three diners in diner list. Okay, and assume that the user just clicked out of diner number 3. In other words, it just diner number 3's edit text for his name just lost focus. So let's look at what these few lines of code do. So, first run of the for loop. I is equal to 0 still, because that's what we created it to be. Now checks, is 0 less than the size of diner list? Well, the size of diner list, as we set up here, is 3. So I is indeed less than 3. In other words, since I is less than 3, let's go ahead and run the code inside the for loop. Now, the code inside the for loop says, okay, first check if the view that just lost focus is equal to dinerlist.getI.etName. So dinerlist.getI, is 0, so dinerlist.get0 returns diner number 1. Now, is diner number 1 is v equal to diner number 1? Well, we know that v, we just said, was diner number 3's edit text, so v is not equal to the edit text or the ET name of diner number 1. So since this is equal to false, we do not run the code underneath the if block. We reach the end of the for block and we increase I by 1. Because that's what we say right here. That's what that part means. So we go back to the top of the for block and we see if we should repeat or not. I is now equal to 1. Is I less than dinerlist.size? Well, yes, it is still less than dinerlist.size, which is 3. So run the for block. We reach the if statement again. Now, this time, is v equal to diner number 2? And diner number 2, or I guess it's more accurate to do this. Is v equal to the ET name of diner number 2? And again, we get diner number 2 from the fact that dinerlist.get1, which is what I is now, evaluates to diner number 2, because that is the second element in the diner list. So is v equal to diner number 2's ET name? No, it's not. So we skip the rest of the if block and we go to the end of the for loop and we increase I by 1, which is I++. And therefore I is now 2. And we go back to the top of the for loop. I is now 2. Is I less than dinerlist.size? I is indeed less than 3. So let's go ahead and run the for loop, or the stuff inside the for loop once more. This time we go if v is equal to diner number 3's ET name. So I is 2 now, so get 2 from diner list returns the third element of diner list. And .et name refers to the ET name of that third diner. So diner number 3's ET name, is that equal to v? We just set up here, we assume that they just clicked out of diner number 3. So that means this is true. Now that it's true, we can go ahead and run the code inside the if block. And the code says, run diner number 3's, or call diner number 3's set name method. Okay? So again, I at this point is equal to 2. Get 2 from diner list returns diner number 3. Now we have diner 3, and we want to run the set name method for that diner. So we use the set name method, and what the set name method does is it changes the TV name to the same text as the ET name. And the ET name, or the edit text that has the name, was just edited by the user. That's why we know this, because he just clicked out of it. So we set the TV name, the text view for the name, equal to the same as the text of the edit text that has the name. So that's what that does. Anyway, once we reach the end of this if block, we also reach the end of the for block, and we increase I by 1. And now we go back to the top of the for block and we check. I is now equal to 3. Whoops. Now, is 3 less than DynoList.size? DynoList.size is equal to 3. 3 is not less than 3. In that case, we're done with the loop, break out of it, skip the rest of the for block, don't run it again, and go to the end of the for block. And since we have nothing left in the onFocusChange method, that's basically the end of the onFocusChange method. That's all that happens. So that's how all that works. And to sum it up, basically, we run this block of code right here once for each and every element inside DynoList, and we do this so that we can, by doing this for each element in the DynoList, we'll eventually get the right ET name or the ET name that happens to correspond with whatever the user just clicked out of. And once we find that ET name, we'll know which diner is referring to, and once we know which diner that's referring to, we'll know which diner's set name method to call. And then we call that set name method in order to change the correct TV name. Okay, and if that didn't make too much sense, I have a better infographic on my website. Again, the link is going to be in the description, and there's a glossary on my website for this tutorial, so you can look at some more information about for loops and loops in general in programming to help you sort of decipher what all this means right here. But anyway, if we want to go ahead and test our code, we can do so. And if you'll look, this is my Android virtual device. This right here is actually my Samsung Galaxy S3 phone. I do most of my testing on this phone instead of the actual AVD because it runs a lot faster. But for tutorials, I have to use the AVD since I can't record my Android phone. But let's see, did this finish? Let's change this name. Test. And then we lose focus, and let's see if the name changed. It did indeed change. Let's create some more names, or some more diners. Let's change the names again. This one can be Bob. Oops, that's not how you spell Bob. This one can be Mike. This one can be Tim. Okay, so if we look, the names for test, Bob and Mike have changed. This last one, Tim, has not changed yet because we have not lost focus. If we click outside of it to a different edit text, and we look again, we'll notice that the text view down here, Tim, has also changed. So now that we've added the onFocusChange block here, we have an app that changes the name for diners whenever the user changes it, which is good. And at this point, we can start moving on towards the actual calculations for the tip and the numbers and that sort of thing. But yeah, we're making some good progress. So yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in the next episode. Hopefully this is starting to make sense for you guys. See ya.